everyone. I know you saw me earlier play baseball on Twitch, and it's funny. My friend commented once. He's like, "I'm not here to interrogate my emotional inner feelings. I'm here to watch you play fucking the show," which was so funny. He was being and he doesn't care. He was just being funny. Um, but anyway, uh, no, we're here on Pilled, and Olivia is drinking straight from a cocktail shaker. So that's where we're starting off.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, it is a cocktail shaker. I forgot about that.
That's what I wanted to wait to start to say. Like he's drinking it. Now I've done that to test. He is doing it just continuing. We're sticking with it.
Yeah. So to be honest, at least a little history to this is that I saw my grandma do it when I was a kid, like
Okay.
6, 7, 8 years old. So in my mind, I'm like, oh, I consider like a Haitian grandma cup,
Right. Right.
right?
Haitian
And I feel
grandma
like
cup. I love that.
right, so I automatically assume that anything that I put in there is going to automatically taste better.
Oh, that's nice because grandma did it. Yeah.
Yeah, because grandma did it. Now,
Uh huh.
now that I know that it's a shaker.
But I'm not calling it a shaker anymore. I'm calling it a Haitian grandma cup.
So
When I make a cocktail at home, I'm saying I'm putting this in my Haitian grandma
it's a
cup.
grandma cup.
I'm gonna get your flag. I'm gonna support.
Haitian
Put it on
grandma
the
cup.
cup. Put the Haitian flag on it.
Haitian
Uh,
Haitian HHGC.
is there? There's liquor from made in Haiti. I'm guessing.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
there is.
I don't think I've ever had something made there.
The most famous, I mean, there's two essentially. The most famous one is Babacore, which is a rum, and then
Mm,
the other one is Prestige. But Prestige got bought by I think Heineken,
okay,
so now it gets like kind of like exported out from Holland or something like that.
but it's a beer.
It's a beer, yeah.
All right, I gotta add to my list. I want to try a beer from every country that makes them. Um,
Ooh, that's a good idea.
right? Have a beer list and knock them off each country. See, we do men things here. Fuck out of here. Anyway, welcome to Pilled. As you see, we're still just two guys. One of them is a father, has offspring, and lives with family and a wife. One of them lives with a cat and has a full bar, and both of us are broke because we are teachers. Hello.
Yeah, yeah,
Anyway,
we are broke.
yes. Um, but enough about our economy and capitalism. We have had some material here. It's been a big day, big week or two for the manosphere, for the
Mm-hmm.
pills, because there's been one recent famous documentary by English documentarian Louis Theroux, and then I think what happened is because his documentary came out, one that came out at the end of last year by BBC documentarian and presenter, then was like re got reviraled again
Mm-hmm.
as a companion, and I think there's
Yeah,
even more. You sent me something too.
yeah,
So I think it's a big week to be interrogating these beliefs, interrogating these systems. So let's get right into it. Um, I saw it. Uh, It is on Netflix. It is called Inside the Manosphere by Louis Theroux, who also did a great documentary that I've only seen parts of, but I do think it's important
Mm-hmm.
on Israeli settlers in the West Bank and the
Okay.
violence that they commit against Palestinians and they're still doing against Palestinians on land that is theirs, but that we fund with our tax dollars instead of giving our own people health care and free education.
Yeah, that's a whole.
Which guess
That's
who gets
okay.
that? The people over there. But anyway, he also now did one on the Manosphere. I don't know if he did these concurrently or not. I don't know which one came first, but it certainly just came out now. So, and there's already been many takes on it, but
Mm-hmm.
it talks to different. For those who have not seen it, I recommend you do. It is still an important piece of the pantheon of the anthology. of this time, an analysis of this time. It talks about some of the people we've talked about here, Fresh and Fit,
Yep.
specifically Myron from Fresh and Fit.
Yes. Yes.
Some of these people I forgot exist. Darko, no, Sneeko.
Sneeko.
Okay, I thought of Donnie Darko for a second. Sneeko, who apparently is here in New York. I learned that a few days ago. I've been
Yeah,
here
I
my
don't
whole
know either.
life. And there's other. I completely forgot the name of the British guy.
Oh, I mean, his nickname is
Well,
called HS.
there's HS. Well, there's a few British guys.
There's HS, his Robin character, essentially Ed, if I remember correctly.
So there's the brolic guy who went to Miami, not Miami. He went to Madrid, or not some Malaga. I'm mixing them all up. Some M sounding starting city in Spain that's a beach town. He went there, and that guy.
Yeah. He's called HS. I forgot his full name, but he's
Okay,
called HS.
all right. And then there's another
His
guy.
Yeah,
Go
his
ahead.
sidekick Ed. There's that one. And then there's also Justin Waller, I believe,
Yeah,
was another big
Justin
one.
Waller was the guy in Miami. There's a
Yeah,
lot
the
of
guy. Yeah.
people I was not privy to, um, that are influencing people and make a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
And Thoreau went through all of, I suppose you could say, the main people that have international recognition. Of course, Andrew Tate. He didn't speak with Andrew Tate, though, but he attempted to.
I'm assuming that Andrew Tate probably did his research and was like, "Yeah, I'm not gonna talk to you." That's what my assumption is,
Yeah.
because at least I would at least arguably, in my opinion, I would say the quote unquote smartest guys. By smart, I mean in the sense of like knowing how to brand themselves in a certain image
Yes.
and light.
Yes.
Is, in my opinion, would be Andrew Tate and Justin Waller. I think those two, in my opinion, brand themselves better than most of the Manosphere guys. Um, at least from my own little vantage point. Those two,
Well,
when it comes to their image and branding, I think, I don't like to say it. I respect the sense of like they know how to keep presenting themselves in the best light possible, or keep having control of the image of themselves.
before he got charged with human trafficking in Romania.
Oh yes. Oh yeah.
Because after that, it's all down the toilet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even for some of his own people. Now, that doesn't mean he doesn't have a following and is not rich for reasons I don't
Mm-hmm.
understand. But even that, he took a hit there. Um, but yes, I also believe Waller. Okay, so let's get into it now that we've set it up. And again, on Netflix, Inside the Manosphere. Let's start with you. What were your thoughts initially?
So I had a small little preview to it because I watched Abba and Preach and they criticized the red pill a lot. And I kind of walked in a little bit with their lens, but as I was watching, I was like, you know what? Let me wipe
What?
that.
Sorry,
Sorry,
what
what's
were
it?
you listening to? I didn't hear it.
Abba and Preach. They're these YouTubers who criticize the red pill all the time.
Okay.
We watched one of their stuff in one of the earlier episodes.
Okay.
Um, yeah. Anyways, so I walked in with a little bit of what they've shown me
Mm-hmm.
on their YouTube channel, and I was
Mm-hmm.
like, all right, I realized I'm being a little bit jaded, being a little bit biased. So let me try to go in as clean and open as possible.
Okay.
Um, and I think also because you and I would say, because we both do media, at certain points I was trying to be aware of when like the music was making me feel some type of way, or when like
That too.
the editing was like, when like the editing was cut certain ways. I was like,
We're trying to,
what,
yeah.
like just to make them look a little bit worse than they are, which they already did by themselves, in my
Right.
opinion, right? I feel like the editing wasn't always necessary to make them look worse,
Mm-hmm.
but again, they already did bad, made it look bad like that. Um, and I was planning to watch it with my wife, and she watched the last 20 minutes with me, and she said, I'm going to paraphrase what she said. She was just like, "That was stupid." She's just like, that was just stupid. I was like, yeah, I watched an hour and a half or hour and 20 minutes of this. And she's like, I'm so glad I didn't watch it with you. She's like, I feel like I wasted my time with just a 20 minutes by alone. Um, so and then I did have some notes here of like, I was like, you know what? Let me try to give these guys a small break. And by small break in terms of like, what are some small quote unquote positive things? I put
Hmm.
in quotation marks,
Okay.
positive things that we could take away from this, which we could talk about, with each person. But
Hmm.
also there's lots of, but the main takeaway I took away from this
Hmm.
overall is off the, I'm gonna say 4 out of 5. I'm gonna say characters. That's what I'm gonna call them. Not because they're not people, but just because they're all putting up a
They are
persona.
putting something up. It's true. Hmm.
Yeah. So I'm gonna call them characters in this case. 4 out of the 5 characters to me are either hypocritical
Hmm.
or they do not fully understand. I don't want to say that. I think that either one, either hypocritical of their stances, or two, they are unaware of like how much damage they're doing to themselves and other people.
Yeah.
So I'll yeah, leave it at that point.
But why do you say that?
Of being hypocritical or damage to themselves
But
and other
why, like,
people.
why do you say 4 of the 5, and who is not? Who is not in that group?
I think the one I can't fully digest is Ed, the Robin Hood. Like they called him the Robin Hood to HS, and I say I can't do it as much because they, to me, they didn't do
They
a
didn't do the same dive.
the same dive as Justin Waller, Myron, HS. Who else was the last guy? I forgot who the last guy was off the top of my head, at least.
Sneeko.
Yeah, Sneeko. Yeah, even Sneeko was smaller, but like I know Sneeko more as a, again, as a character. I know more as a character, so the deep dive for Sneeko was, to me, wasn't as necessary. Um, but yeah, so I would say, so theoretically that'd be a 3 out of 5 more or less. That's the case. So yeah, Sneeko and Ed, those who didn't have much of a deep dive as HS, Justin Waller, and Myron.
But why do you think they're doing damage? You said hypocritical and doing damage to themselves, or the damage they're doing in general.
I think the damage to themselves and others. Because I'm not gonna lie, I think about it, right? As this podcast is gonna keep growing and keep doing
Hmm.
more things, right? To a certain degree, I'm gonna have to. I'm kind of trying to more or less be an example for
Hmm.
we're trying to be an example for a space for young men, right?
Absolutely.
And when you're an example, you kind of set yourself up for failure in the sense of like, if you don't fulfill those expectations all the time and you mess up, it looks bad, right? People criticize you, like, oh, your brand is this, you're fake, you're not real, this and the third. I think about that. I do. Um,
Hmm.
but I think it's hurting themselves because they put this super duper high expectation of all these, almost not almost, a lot of unrealistic things, where it's like you put the pressure on yourself, like, I have to keep performing, I have to keep doing these great things, I have to keep showing the fact that I'm a great man, I have money, I have success, I have all these
Hmm.
girls. You have to keep putting on this show.
Hmm.
And and at least for someone who's done media for, for a few years, again,
Hmm.
I am not Steven Spielberg, nothing like that,
Hmm.
but the pressure is there. The pressure is there. So you put the pressure on yourself, and then because you're trying to be an example for others, they try to follow your footsteps and copy you. They
Yeah.
put the pressure on themselves. And for me personally, it's like, nah, guys, no, I'm a human being. I'm going to
Yep.
mess up. I'm going to fuck up.
Right.
And the best I could do is be like, hey, I messed up. Moving forward, I'll try to do better. And if I keep messing up, let me know and I'll try to do better. That's all I can do.
But that's part of the brand you choose to make, and their brand, the framework of their brand, does not exist without this very high pedestal, an outsized sense of self-importance for themselves and masculinity. But when you create that, you set yourself up for failure. We are all human. There are certain human needs that you can mask only so much: love, affection, sadness, depression. All these things are things that it's not a matter of having them or not having them, it's a matter of how you make them look. As men, we all have the same emotions as women. Uh, the way we represent them can be different, but we have the same ones. So they're bound if you make a sculpture, if you set your foundation as a sculpture of a man that's unrealistic, it is doomed to fail when the human shows up, when the human nature shows up, when life shows up. And it does for all of us. So what I want and what I think you do, we are all doing here is saying we are imperfect people. We are not some sort of supreme high. Every man is high value. Okay, we are not some extra high value. Every man is has high value in them. They can decrease their own value with their behavior, their value to society, but they're not more or less human. We're all human, and we all inherently have the same value. Your net benefit to society, yes, can be of greater or lesser value. And I do believe it's of lesser value if you are misogynistic, sexist, all of that. But before we get into that, if we're talking about personal image and branding, the less you make yourself a human and the more you make yourself a capitalist brand commodity, the more at some point you're going to fail. And the worse it's going to look because your humanness, again, will show up, life will show up. So that's my answer to that part. I do think there was a difference of the many. There's a lot of things to get into here, but yes, to your just to follow up and close the loop on your point of the difference between the people listed. I do think that yes, there were some deep dives more so into HS and into Justin Waller than there were to other people. It was also about the amount of access he got and was allowed to get, and Myron as well even had him on the podcast. Um, uh, but I also think everyone was a little different also, and I don't think that was talked about enough, right?
Ooh.
So Justin Waller was not the same as the rest of them for many reasons.
Yeah, for sure.
Justin Waller said he loved two men. When they approached Justin Waller, he said, "First of all, guys, I love you." I don't think the other guys would say that. Justin Waller had a side to him of this what we call benevolent patriarchy.
Yeah, for sure.
We don't have the same type of benevolence with, I would say, almost everyone else. There is a side of him. He even said, if women want to, they should do those things. Like when Justin Thoreau brought up women in different aspects of the workforce, he didn't have a problem with it. Now, did he say something patriarchal after? Of course, he wouldn't be here if he wasn't. But it's not the same, and it should be called out when we say all things are the same. It's like this is the same reason I'm like I went to school for the specific purpose of details and calling things out. That's why I got points taken off on fucking tests. So I'm not going to stop being this way for the rest of my life. I put time in. I could have trained to be a Yankees two-way closing pitcher and DH so that I will go to school. So I'm going to sound like this intellectual motherfucker the rest of my life. Okay? That's how I feel.
Fair enough.
We're supposed to be logical beings, and especially the reason I'm this specific is because Thoreau made money off this. He's a smart guy. I respect him, so I expect more. And he did not make those distinctions. Someone like Justin Waller wants a family. He wants to be a family man. He is the old school, good old patriarchal guy in the modern day. Because he's still, let's face it, he's more progressive than some of our uncles.
You know, it's funny though. So I wrote down notes, right? And I was like, you know what? I know I'm coming in here to criticize as much as possible. And I was like, let me try to find some things that I actually noticed or I agreed with. And most of it was either HS or Justin Waller, right? And one thing I noticed was the fact that, for at least for Justin Waller, was the fact that like I give him credit for breaking a generational curse of himself, right? He grew up with a broken household, messed up things, right? Things at least based upon what the documentary said, right? His father wasn't allowed to see him. His mother burned down houses for insurance claims. It is chaotic, and no kid should go through that. He is in his kid's life.
Yes,
right.
He believes in that.
He believes in that, right?
Yeah.
Now, I may not agree or subscribe to of him, having multiple girlfriends or whatever it is,
Oh, we'll get to that.
right? I personally, I'm not me personally as a person. I can't do it. I'm tired. Okay, I don't have the energy or time to do it. However, if that's what works for his relationship with him and his
Right,
wife, okay, right? I'm not there to say one thing or
right.
another. I do think that when he grows older, his daughters grow older, he's gonna have to kind of answer that question.
Yeah, but he has some answers for it. The thing about
He,
Justin Waller is that technically there's a lot of things about him that, even following a leftist ideology, the criticisms of him that I think follow through of through feminism, through a consistent ideology of the the main aspect of feminism, which is that we have equality, right?
hmm
We have equality, we end gender-based violence, we end sexual assault. So those things aren't really on Justin's radar. Now he may say men should protect women, right?
yeah,
And he may do a better job in some ways than some other men do. But that
okay,
doesn't mean that he looks at this as a macro issue. So his empathy for what women encounter on a macro is reduced to as his relationship to women as a man, men relationship to women.
hmm
His ideology is that if men in society are allowed to do their job, we will protect women and we will have a new dawn of this, like I said, benevolent patriarchal masculinity that
hmm
protects women and makes it so that they don't have to go into neuroscience
yeah,
and be a
or
doctor and be a lawyer because there's enough men out there doing their job.
hmm
So inherent to that is a sexism that says, well, what if women like being a doctor? What if women want to be a fucking scientist? Why is it, again, this notion that all of them have? Yes, men and women are different for those who even if you're looking at gender as a construct, there's a reason you're calling yourself a man versus calling yourself a woman. Of course, there's differences. But
yeah,
that doesn't mean we can't have a lot of similarities in wanting things that are outside of the house. There are many women who want to work in the home and be homemakers, and they should receive the same, not more or less, the same respect as women who want to be a fucking astronaut. But in his world, the female, in all of the worlds, the female nature does not allow a woman the agency, the intellect, to naturally want to be very intellectual and be something more than a homemaker. A woman being more than a homemaker is a failure of society for him, that men aren't doing enough of their jobs. So that is the type, that's what I say benevolent patriarchy is a lot different than
okay,
the rest of them. In his ideology, it's about allowing men to be better so that women can be protected more and treated better. But women, inherent to that is women don't have the same agency, mental capacity that men do because we're providers and they
hmm
can't be providers and they can't be equals. So that's where he breaks with he is not looking for an equal society. He is not criticizing society for how it oppresses women. But when it comes to how he has his own relationship, I think there isn't much to criticize because he allowed, if it works for him, if one sided monogamy works for them, I don't agree with people who call themselves open minded and are open to polyamory
hmm
and then criticize that.
yeah,
It wouldn't work for me. I don't think it's fair, but I'm not in it. If it works for them, if one sided monogamy, as silly as it sounds, works for them, that's not part of our inherent foundational criticism of someone like him.
yeah,
That part I think is wrong.
yeah. No, I definitely agree. I've seen a few videos where of Justin Waller where he's at a debate and the woman's kind of just pushing him further and further, just being like, how can you like be with multiple women and have one wife? And I'm going to paraphrase and very loosely paraphrase what Justin Waller basically said. He's kind of like, essentially it's kind of like, listen, I as a man, as a person, like I literally need to have multiple partners, right? Because my personal sex drive is so high, right? It might be too much for this one person, so I need to go and not step out, but just find someone else to just to do something, right? It's for him, it's kind of like a physical activity, more or less, right? Again, I'm loosely paraphrasing what he said, and the woman was just kept pressing like, well, why, well, why? He's like, he answered the question, just let it just drop it,
That's his
right?
right. Right.
That's his thing, and I always say like, I'm not gonna yuck your yum. That's your thing. That's what works for
Right.
you.
This is where we make a mistake, I think, when we are criticizing aspects of patriarchy. Does he have a patriarchal ideal when he says, and she can't step out? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But guess what? There are many women who buy into it too. And if they buy into it and they're consenting adults, who am I to say you should be fucking other men? That sounds ridiculous. I think, do I think the setup is ridiculous? Yes, but I think it's equally ridiculous for me to tell her that she is not what, being a good woman by not
Or a
having sex
good
with other
wife or a
men,
good
or a good
mom.
wife. Come on now, that's also dumb. So I have many criticisms for him that I outlined. We're focusing on the wrong one. If you believe in polyamory, you should allow for this because not everyone's polyamorous relationships are the same. Some
Yeah.
women believe what Taraban said, which is that now he said attention, but remember, Dr. Orion Taraban said almost the same thing, that men having sex with other women is natural. He said, because the parallel to men having sex with other women is a woman's need for attention, which still is so fucking insane to me, is a woman's
Yes.
need for attention, male attention. So if a man gives his woman enough attention, then he should be able to have sex with other women. Now, as batshit insane as that sounds, for this relationship, maybe that works. And the providing and the fact that in this case, what she said is we have different lanes, and he's doing his lane. If she buys into it, the way some people call it trad wife, that's on them. That's their
Yeah.
choice. I'm for free speech. I just like this is the civil liberty aspect. So criticizing him for a relationship that his wife is okay with, to our knowledge, if she's not, she's not. But also, if she's not, again, this is part of the internal workings of a marriage. I'm not going to throw that in the same capacity as the other criticisms I have for him, which is like, not like a denial that patriarchy is a problem and a
Mm-hmm.
denial of benevolent patriarchy and a denial of violence, like all the things that like wanting to end gender-based violence, like all the things that if you truly advocate for women you should care about. So that's why I think if Thoreau was, oh my god, if Thoreau was thorough.
That's so stupid.
It's right there.
Listen, I will not use that joke. I don't like to rehash. Like, I like a good dad joke. I do, because I mean, I am a dad, but also I do like a good dad joke. But when it's off of name basis and it's just so easy. Like, I used to have a
I don't
friend.
even want to. I'll criticize him with other things, but I don't even want to make that one. But if he was more thorough and detailed, he would talk about how benevolent patriarchy looks different than the rest, and that why it's also appealing to men and women.
Yeah.
That's what he needs. Like, you have to make distinctions. Just like when we make distinctions about factions of different resistance groups, of
Mm-hmm.
violence in international relations, of domestic terrorism, like all these things that we have to understand that if we're going to ever put an end to something, you have to understand it. And he's not making a very important line here, which is that he almost doesn't belong with. I mean, he does. Also, my other criticism of him is you are seen for the company you keep to some extent, and this is the company he keeps. He also like was pictured with the rest of them in a limo going to parties. So clearly, it's not like he's completely against other ideologies that is way worse towards women and men. But
Hmm.
these distinctions matter for the communities they attract, for the people they attract, and why they are profitable. And he did not get into that. He threw everyone in the uh, same kind of bag.
I
Um,
think, I think part of it might be because, so I guess to be a little bit of a thorough defender here, right?
mhm,
And this is my first time seeing his work,
mhm.
right? I think for one, he is Thoreau is much older than all these guys,
Yep,
right? I think the closest in age is either it's probably Justin Waller, and I think
probably
Justin Waller's like
Waller.
I think Waller's like 35, 36. I don't know off the top of my head, right? But he's in his 30s,
Mhm.
early 40s, right?
Yeah,
So when you're walking into the space, you're walking in a space of multiple layers. You have to go through thinking about OnlyFans, thinking about TikTok, Kick, Instagram. What even is Manosphere? What is Red Pill? There's multiple layers to this.
right.
That's one. And I think the second thing is because he's trying to market it as to the general public,
Mhm.
right? Because Netflix, you're gonna keep it as, like a better word, as simple as possible, right? Kind of like a blanket layer for all of them, where you're not gonna differentiate each one. People a little different. And 54% of adults in America can't read past sixth grade. So, what's the point of even, differentiating how each one's different, right? They can't even read or see the fact that each one is different in some aspect. So, there's, to some degree, there's no point in doing that. It's either you make it as simple as possible. So that way, people who are at 54% reading sixth grade levels understand, or we keep it intellectual. That way, you and I can have these conversations. And if you're trying to make money with Netflix, you're going to keep it simpler. That's what you're going to do. You're going to keep it the safer route.
But I don't think it would have been that complicated to say he's different. And also, I also don't think that everyone doesn't need to get everything out of every documentary. Like if all people got is like there is a pool of male influencers who are influencing millions of men to believe certain things. Some of them are abhorrent, some of them are misguided, then that is, and they didn't know that before, it did its job. But it did its job to those people, I should say.
Yeah.
But it doesn't do its job at truly making a dent in the manosphere and truly getting people to understand its appeal for many reasons. But one of them was this. One of them was it didn't separate the notion of benevolent patriarchy, which is a lot harder for people to understand and see. But yes, part of documentaries is to, you know, shine light on things that not everyone understands, is to explain them. And he did his part in making very simple. I don't want to say less than whatever under 54 percenters. I don't. It does sound mean, but
Yeah.
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 But he for people who where's a fly, for people who have, for the wider audience, he made enough content with this. For the people who are working to understand it better to another layer and attack its foundation, unless he's going to do part two, which maybe he will, he is doing a disservice with his opportunity and access, with his platform, by not talking about the different ways different kinds of men are attracted and why sometimes certain kinds are a lot harder for people to understand what they're being drawn into. So I think we have Justin Wallers in our lives. Justin Waller just happens to be a guy. Damn it, my mic died. They don't want us to succeed.
Listen, man. Listen, when we get some
If it's not
sponsors and
the
start
internet,
balling,
it's this.
when we start balling, man, watch out.
Yeah. All right. While I have this other fuzzy mic, which probably people would think is feminine, so I'm gonna make it extra in the camera. Then was
Oh, sorry. Sorry. Is my masculine microphone making you feel emasculated?
Should I be
Because
insecure? Oh, this one's
uh,
actually working. Look, we gave it. Look at what happened. We let it be itself, and now the light is green. Okay. Anyway, um, yeah. So that was one criticism about not about layers here. There's multiple layers to discuss. Another layer is the money aspect. This is very profitable for these men.
yeah.
Why is it so profitable for these men? And a lot of these men, which I didn't realize until watching this, so I am glad that it was there. I just wish he went deeper into it. A lot of these men are creating money making schemes. Why is that happening? Why are they famous? Why do they have so much money? Why is this so profitable? And why are so many other men literally buying into it? Economic times are a huge part of this, and he didn't get into it. Capitalism is a huge part of this. The intersection between capitalism and masculinity is a huge part of this. Why so many men down on their luck are are it is so appealing to see a guy that says, first of all, the money makes you a man. Second of all, which by the way, Justin Waller, though he kind of contradicts himself, he at least was the only one to say that that's not true. Again, a difference in ideology, even if
Hmm.
visually he's not always, supporting that. But all
Yeah,
of them
yeah.
at least put up something that looks like I got a nice crib, a nice car, and I at least have several relationships with women with beautiful women.
Hmm.
So that's especially attractive to young men who are not doing well, not just with women, but also financially. And he didn't talk about the financial times and how there's a capitalist grift that can go with this.
Well, I think again to give a little bit of defense to him, I think for one thing, if you're gonna talk about capitalist grift, this and the third, you're gonna have to explain what capitalism is and explain what grifting is, and that's a whole other documentary series or even an episode by itself, right? So again, I think the blanket here is supposed to be like, what is manosphere, right? Here is a cookie cutter chat GBT, an easy
Yeah,
digestible thing to understand what manosphere is. And I think he did a little bit of exposing because he had those two guys who are Justin Waller, followers, whatever. They said, "Oh, we follow Justin Waller, Andrew Tate, and a couple other guys, right?" And they were expressing what they were going through. They're like, "Oh, I've been broke, I've been homeless, no one loved me, no one cared about me, and I had to save myself. And these men showed me how to save myself, right?" Um, and I think that was the little bit of piece of like, hey, these are regular people, right? For the most part, right? All these red pill guys who they're talking about, they're influencers. You are famous to some degree. These are two regular people. I
right.
forgot their names, to be honest. But these two regular people were just like, yeah, we follow them because of the reasons you just mentioned, right? Not realizing, understand the fact, like, no, I am being grifted or lied to, um, by most,
Right.
if not all of them, most of them.
Right. And those people, and again, Justin Waller said to those people, and I didn't hear this from anyone else, that he loves them. And
Yes.
that is different because Justin Waller truly believes he is helping men. There is a brotherhood, again, benevolence. Benevolent patriarchies for other men too, not just for women.
Hmm.
And for all we know, these men aren't told they're loved. So that
Which is
does
which
matter.
is which is a lot. Which is a
A lot of men
lot.
are not. A lot of men are never fucking. I put a thing on my poetry page that has 11 and a half people looking at it. That like a lot of men never experience. They go their whole life without tenderness. Whole life working, getting beat either by other men, literally or figuratively, by society.
Hmm.
Barely retire. Don't past retiring age need to work. Die. And that's
Yeah.
their life. Their life has been all providing. That is
Yes.
all they knew, all anyone wanted from them, and they die. They
Mm-hmm.
go their entire life without genuine intimacy, affection, and a lot of people could give a rat's ass about that. And that's another reason why someone like Justin Waller is more attractive a person to follow, because he acts like he cares about you more so than the rest.
I think I'm not gonna lie. I do want to give Justin Waller, I guess not necessarily grace. That's not the word I'm looking for, but I do think that Justin Waller genuinely believes he is helping
Yes,
men, right?
yes,
Like I feel like his intention and heart is actually like, no, like I think I can actually help because he's seen the detriment of not having a father in your life. He's
yes.
seen the destruction of what it could be,
And being
right?
poor.
And being poor,
He's
right?
actually counts. Not that I don't know about everyone else here, but he came from poverty.
Yes, right. And not for nothing. Listen, I respect the hustle to get out of poverty and
Yeah.
make yourself successful. I respect where give respect where respect is due. Um, and I do feel like, at least to me, in my opinion, Justin Waller. I keep going back to Justin Waller. I do feel like he's my right now. I'm not gonna lie, he's my favorite one.
Well, of he has the most
out
redeeming
of out of
qualities of everyone
yes,
there.
yes, he's the most respectable one. I wouldn't mind having a conversation with Justin
Yeah,
Waller
me
and
neither.
just right, like it would. I feel like if I talk to Justin Waller, he would not necessarily react in the way that most of the other uh red
Well,
pill men would have.
oh, everyone's like, like HS is literally sizing him up, like they're about to fight. It's like
Fight,
once we're already doing that, I always say to anyone that immediately wants to fight, I always say, fight Mayweather. He's undefeated. You want to fight someone,
but
fight Mayweather. Otherwise, we're talking.
yeah, but going back to at least Justin Waller, I do feel like Justin Waller, in my opinion, to give some sort of weird, I guess, gate or some sort of entryway to all this stuff.
Yes.
I feel like Justin Waller is like either the stepping stone of like, all right, this is the last point I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna stop at. Either gonna go further deeper into the red pill, right,
Mm-hmm.
and go further to like Myron's HS, um, Ed
Mm-hmm.
Sneakos, whatever, right? Or you go to like you reach Justin Waller, you're like, no, that's it. This is the level I'm gonna reach to, and I'm gonna
Right.
turn
I
back.
Some might. I think for some.
Some.
I'm just trying to see because if this is working. I guess not. All right, whatever. Um, I I think that Waller less represents something that is almost the phenomenon where Waller fits in with the rest is how he's able to actually get this much of a following and any sort of money off of the following. Aside, if you take those things, Justin Waller 20 years ago would have been our uncle.
Oh, absolutely.
That's the thing. A successful uncle, certainly.
Yeah,
A
yeah, for
financially
sure.
successful uncle. He is more relatable to many people who did not have a father or a father figure or an older brother in their life. So I understand him. That, again, why there should be a distinction. Now, a lot of people who are, I'm unemployed right now, and I have a master's degree, and like I said, it's a joke. I wonder every day why I have a master's degree, but I know that are there ways to make money online? Yes. Shit, we forgot to say we're still sponsored by absolutely nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So we forgot to mention that one, and the alternatives also are going to be something I want to bring up, but it is there when you're really down on your luck. When we are in a place where Scott Galloway mentioned NEETs, which are not employed. What is it? Not employed in training. Oh, or in education, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where that group of men is higher than ever. All of this is appealing. This is
Yep.
purpose. These men are talking about structure, purpose, money, love, and even if they won't say intimacy, love and intimacy, all natural human desires. Not that I mean, money in a capitalist world becomes a natural human desire. So it is attractive to these men more so than ever. It is like the expression of perfect storm. You have and a highest percentage of NEETs that this country has ever had, and that's the other thing. Not every country is the same, right? UK, even the UK and the US are different, right?
Yep.
With our access to healthcare and education, um,
So many things.
and food and everything's different. So here, I can only speak for the United States. Here, we are in a crisis of the highest amount of people who are of men who are fit in that category than ever before. They are the most susceptible group of men. Now, Justin Waller may genuinely want to help those men and not see them
Yep.
purely as a profit-centered group of people. Regardless what he
Absolutely.
sees them as, they are the most susceptible to make other people money who offer a way of being a man that is profitable and successful. And these men are getting right to the point. Like, it's not some long-winded thing like a Scott Galloway would discuss.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the other reason why sometimes these guys are more attractive. Do this, sign up, treat women this way. That's how you're successful. The nuance. But for anything to be truly successful, for most of us, there needs to be nuance and a better understanding of layers. And even being successful with money to avoid scams, to avoid the things that can come with what looks like fast money, um, that needs guidance too. So the reason he didn't get into the layer of why this is attractive to so many men and why they make so much money in the context of this time. Now I know you're saying that, well, again, that would mean its own
It,
documentary.
it would take a lot. It would take a lot to explain all that for the general masses. Again, I think the only way he could do it or like to fit in, he got lucky when he had those two fans show up. He's like, well, they will show you, explain to you why Justin Waller and Andrew Tate, all of them get all the money. They'll explain to you why, that they kind of grift toward these men. They can explain it because they're regular people.
Yeah, but I mean, I think I'm glad he did speak with them. But again,
Hmm.
I don't think it takes much. He had narrative voiceovers. He had moments. He could have made it a little longer. The other thing I would have told him is make it into a limited series. If he could have done it all over again, I would have told him to do that, and even make our Netflix has a ton of limited series, even including with documentaries. Make it into multiple hours, and this. If this was the first episode, that's how I would categorize this. This should have been the first episode of a limited series. And then you get into more of the foundations. And then you can talk to people like the Scott Galloways, but not just him. Talk to a lot of the women like Ray, who we had on, who are dating men who suddenly are being influenced by this. The moms of these boys.
Oof, yeah, HS
There's
mom. We gotta talk about that.
so many aspects that need, if you want to make a true difference, because if you need to understand the foundation, you're not going to ever get make understanding, because the way I looked at it was, if I'm a man watching this and I'm on the fence about the manosphere, I don't know if this actually told me not to be interested in it. These men are successful,
Ooh.
they
Hmm.
have money, they have women who respect them, not just women who they're fucking, women who respect them. Some of them still have relationship with their mom, even if it's fucked up. I don't know if I looked at this kind of like, I used to watch a show Bully Beatdown, and the premise is always this guy's gonna fuck the bully up, but every so often the bully gets some hits in, and every so often the guy, the MMA fighter, Mayhem, got more than he can chew. And even though he almost always won, I think there was actually one time he didn't, but I think he beat all of them. Even then, or he got another fighter. Right. He usually got another fighter to fight them. But the premise was with this was supposed to be like stomping them out, like make everyone look like
Hmm.
an idiot. I don't think that's what happened here. I think a lot. I think did some of them look stupid? Yeah, but to people who already thought they looked stupid. I think the people who weren't sure what to make of this, the men who are struggling, working class men who are struggling, I think identified more with those men than they ever did with Thoreau.
Maybe.
And he didn't get to why, and by not addressing these underpinnings, he didn't make the manosphere look that bad to many young men, because these men are doing just fine when it comes to money.
For sure. For sure.
And at least outwardly when it comes to, obviously in a superficial way, but outwardly when it comes to women as well.
I think me personally, I think the one who got the largest hit was HS and Myron.
Yeah, but they're not poor.
No, they're not. And they are fairly. Let me take it back. I was about to say they're both financially savvy guys. They're not. I think
Yeah, they don't need to be.
I think Myron's more financially savvy to understand that, like, hey, I could definitely lose all this at once at any moment. So I think Myron would put his money into like stocks, whatever, and differentiate it, whatever. HS is 23, 24 years old.
Very young, and he has all that money and attention.
He has all that money, all that attention, that huge ego, and at least when I think back when I was in my early,
and he's 20s, very physically imposing, and
he was.
And when you put all of those together, yeah,
I would argue and say that you almost think that you are literally a god, right? Like your ego becomes so big.
Yeah.
And let me.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. Sorry. Let me say something very quickly, because my first ever explained to me, like, ego itself is not bad. Ego is just ego.
Right.
You have your id, the thing that's inside of you that you have by yourself, essentially, and then there's your ego, and then there's your super ego, right? The thing that kind of goes outward to everyone else. I might be misquoting here, but that's what kind of what layer it is, right? Your ego is kind of like the referee between your id and your super ego, right? It's a thing to register, like, how far do you go to super ego versus your id by itself. In the case of HS, I would argue say he doesn't have an ego. He just has a super ego, right? He just literally thinks, I need to be like again, what we said earlier, right? You put this pressure on yourself to keep making content, keep doing things, keep producing, keep putting on a show. It's too much. It is way too much. And also, you're 23, 24 years old. Not for nothing, in my eyes, and I'm only 31, you're still a kid, right? In the aspect of being an adult, you turn an adult, at least in America, you turn an adult at legally 18 years old, right? You're an adult 23, 24, you've been an adult for 5 to 6 years. I don't know about you, but when I think about any 5 to 6-year-old, I would not trust them with anything.
Okay, so that's an interesting thing. You're looking at that your experience in adult brain is like a developmental child.
Exactly.
With this like, it's almost like in the world of being an adult.
You are a kid.
Child. That's interesting. I never looked at it that way. The thing I will say is that the male brain, not the female brain. The female brain, I mean, they're not going to say this, but the female brain develops faster than the male brain generally.
Yeah, about 2 years.
Right. So a 23-year-old, many times his brain is developing until he's 25.
Yeah.
Most men.
Or there's one study, again, loosely based on this. If you have ADHD like myself, your brain could develop until you're 35 years old.
Wow, I just 35.
Yeah.
So anyway, the point being that the way we understand things, acting, there's a lot of confidence in this. Even Justin Waller, again, he is not. He did say sexist things. He may have done it, again, benevolent patriarchy, but he said, look around, when we were talking about engineers, he's like, women can be engineers, sure. But he's like, did women build any of this? And in fact, some of them did. So, again, the level of certainty, and he's older, his brain probably been set. So he's older, but a lot of these young people act like the manosphere is all about an outside sense of self-confidence for everything. I know everything. There's nothing for me to learn. And that's why you could believe the earth is flat. That's why you could believe a lot of things. But I'm gonna get into something else too later. But while we're on this, so there's so much certainty that it doesn't allow for development. It doesn't allow for new information and new thoughts. In Justin Waller's world, women didn't build this. There's no reason to think that, because if I have to think that, it means I got to learn something, and I should be confident enough when I'm teaching these young men how to be men that I know my shit. Whereas I would say, how the fuck am I going to know who built all these buildings in Miami? I'm not an architect.
Like, okay, so I teach history, and when I teach history to my students, I need to do some research and find some background
Yeah,
knowledge. And one of my kids asked me, like, Mr. Oh, how do you know everything? I said, I don't know
right.
everything. I know enough to teach you what you need to know so you can do the assignment and the skill set, whatever, right? That's one. Two, when I was at St. John's, at least in terms of history, right? Written history. We're not talking about verbal, like passed down, whatever stories. Written history. It is 40,000 years. There's 40,000 years of human written history.
Right,
It is impossible for
right,
any one person to know all 40,000 years. That's why we have experts for specific time frames,
right.
right? And just by that alone, like whenever I hear someone, oh, I know everything in the world, I'm like, no, man. I think about the Boondocks, what you told me. It's like
Oh yeah, I was about to
episode.
say that after the no
Yeah,
knowns. Yeah.
right. It's like there are known knowns, known unknowns, there's unknown unknowns, right? And this past week, I was having a political debate or conversation with my cousin
Hmm.
about lots of stuff, and when he brought up things to me, like again, with at least politically speaking here in America, he leans a little to the right, leans to the left. We're both center more or less. I would say politically, our stance is like, I pay taxes. Where the fuck is it going? That's our stance. that's
Yeah,
what we, that's what we agree on.
but
And
you'd
when
be
he brought up,
surprised that that is almost already left at this point.
yes, yes. However,
Yeah.
so the conversation, we were talking a lot of different topics, and things he was telling me is like, I didn't know about that. I didn't know about that. I don't know about that. And things I would bring up, he said, I didn't know about that. I don't know about that. I don't know about that. So we had a conversation just about that alone, which is a whole other thing by itself. What I'm trying to say here, I forgot what I was trying to say, but I think what I'm trying to say,
Well, we were talking about learning new things. It sounds like your
yes.
cousin's willing to learn
Oh, he absolutely is.
and
He absolutely is.
admits when he doesn't know something, which is a huge, or at least after you tell him something, and he'll say, "I
I
didn't know
would
that."
I would argue say like I would argue say like if like it depends on the topic and like how
Hmm.
invested or how invested or how knowledgeable he is about it, right? So like for example, he has done lots of research in the immigration problem in America, right? Like how like a lot of like the story about Texas sending immigrants
Oh
to New
my
York, that whole thing,
god,
right?
that
He's
lunatic.
he's done he's done lots of research about that. And like I'm like, hey, listen, I agree with you. That is a problem, right? For sure. Right, I'm going a little side tangent, but my critical question is like, well, who had the power to do all these things,
Yeah.
right? But we're getting
Also,
sidetracked.
also they're humans, not UPS packages, and you shouldn't
Absolutely,
just be sending humans wherever the fuck you want for
yeah,
political
absolutely,
points, for pettiness.
yes,
But
yes,
anyway, to speak on this though, this is another place Thoreau dropped the ball. There were actual times he didn't even have to bake it in his documentary to talk about capitalism and politics. They bring it up, and he just
just
I get some people say this is interview style, but after a certain point, an interviewer has a golden opportunity to actually educate and in a way gets like almost bond with someone, because HS was the main one here
yeah, for
who
sure.
brought up several things that are reasonable with our politics, that not caring about us, elites at the top, all of this
Yes,
stuff.
ooh,
Thoreau could have easily said, and so many of the disaffected men who follow you are harmed by that. Doesn't that matter to you when you say things like, I don't care, I just make money? Because that was HS thing. I don't care. With the OnlyFans, I didn't understand why so many people were like, look, he's making money off OnlyFans, but he disrespects them. I'm like, welcome to men. Welcome to business.
which
Half
which
of
which Which is the
Half
whole
of
thing
business is
by
this.
itself.
Yeah, but
The whole
like, this is nothing new. It is nothing new for something to be a business for the sake of it. People will sell things. People. You think the CEOs of McDonald's eat McDonald's all the time?
you didn't see the video of the CEO eating the big arch and the product and taking the giant bite and be saying how delicious it was. You didn't see
I'm
that?
no, I'm sure it was spur of the moment while he was out in Maui. But like most of like this is as old as time. Of course HS doesn't give a shit, and a lot of guess what? A lot of the women don't give a shit that he doesn't give a shit. So what? Are those women infants? We also infantilize women for their decisions. She chose as much as he chose. They both chose, and they're both are profiting. And
Yeah.
this is why we have to talk about the system that allows this to happen. This is how people make money under capitalism. They do things sometimes that they don't even like, that they don't even respect, or that they just shrug off. That's how you make money in a world, in a system that makes it so hard for working class people to make money. So Thoreau could have talked about OnlyFans in that moment. He could have talked about what HS is doing and saying, many of the people who buy into I forgot what HS sells. He does something.
He sells, so from what I recall, he sells I think he sells like a thing like how to be like basically how to be a man, how to be a better man. That's one.
And
I
money,
think
like how to
I
be
think
rich too.
like yeah, like how to sell trades, how to make money off of stocks or whatever it is. There's that, and the other thing he sells is more or less his adult film tapes, right? Things he's not supposed to show to YouTube because it's too raunchy or too whatever it is.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, he has an inner circle, but I didn't realize he's making the tapes. I thought he brings the OnlyFans women. I thought he just puts their content on it.
From what from again, I'm only speculating based off of what.
Okay.
Sorry, I need to explain for the 54%. Speculation means I'm taking a guess.
Right. Right.
I'm
No,
only
inferring isn't helping.
Yeah, I'm only guessing based off of the documentary that he participates in these adult films and
Okay.
he sells it on Inner Circle or
Is
whatever he
his
sells
inner
it on.
circle. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, yeah, he was showing Thoreau a video of him, which I don't even know
Oh
why he wanted to see
yes,
that. So
yes.
sure.
He was showing a video
And he
of
said that
him
the woman knew
getting.
she was being filmed and that would help her. Maybe, for all we know, that is true. For all we know, it's not. Who knows? But you know what?
She
Some women
she could
do.
be the OnlyFans model.
She could
Who
have been an
knows?
OnlyFans, but like we can't decide what we want when it comes sometimes with women. On one hand, we want independence and treated like equality. But when women do something that sometimes we don't like, then we're suddenly like, oh, that's a child. That's a
Yeah.
child?
So yeah. So
Suddenly? I thought she was an independent woman who has agency. So I think we got to kind of pick one here, and I think we got to say, is this what she dreamed to do? An OnlyFans model? First of all, some sex workers we're supposed to say at least want to be sex workers regardless of other options, and it's possible there's a percent. I don't believe that's the majority, but
hmm
it's possible there is a percent that's like that. Second of all, this results from again a capitalist structure. And Thoreau had an opportunity to talk about why some women turn to that. And he also had an opportunity to talk about the disaffected and also men who are doing bad financially, that whether it's intentional or not, HS is capitalizing on. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with having subscription based things, but if you know a lot of your men are down on their luck, you want that content to really help them. And as HS talked about, anything he makes money off of, he doesn't give a shit. And he's proud of not giving a shit. So Thoreau had a chance to say, you are contributing to that system by being a man who makes a lot of money off the backs of people who are working class and doesn't care about them. It was right there, a layup. And he didn't do it, and we're not getting paid, and Thoreau is. So I expect more from him since he's a at least has a chance to be a multimillionaire. So I'm pissed about that. The second thing I was pissed about, well, before I do it, let's continue with this. So yeah,
Well, first thing, Evan, right? You're educated and you read Bell Hooks multiple times. Most people don't, and they can't think of these big words. So please.
HS is smart enough to bring him up. He's not a dummy either. I think a lot of these guys showed that they're in some ways intellectually, in some ways smarter than we act like,
Yeah,
because they're making
again,
this into a business.
yeah, again, this I guess what I said before. I rather live in a world full of Forrest Gumps and Andrew Tates,
Right.
right?
Right.
So intellectually, you are smart. Intellectually, you can have debate. Intellectually, you can understand what I'm talking about, but you kind of just choose not to. And from one video that I watched, because you choose not to understand or you choose not to listen to better reasoning or better evidence, you're stupid, right?
Yeah.
I'm giving just example again from the video, just like this guy who wrote a book, being like, hey, by like 1960, 1970, the world population is gonna be too big, and we're all gonna die, right? And then he got celebrated for it, got put on multiple whatever, and then
Yeah.
the time came, it passed. Lo and behold, he was wrong, right?
Yeah.
And if you're wrong, you have literally two options: either admit you're wrong and go back and find a better finding, or
Hmm.
double down.
Right.
This person doubled down. He said, "Oh, I
Mm.
was wrong 1980, 1990, right? Time passes, he's
Oh, he
wrong
did.
again.
Oh, but he did say he's wrong. He just got the timeline wrong.
He said my time is wrong, but he doubled down in his time, right? The world's going to end because we won't have enough resources because the trial should be too big, blah 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 blah, right? His same theory, right? He
Hmm.
stuck with the same theory. Now, you've been wrong once, right? You would think, theoretically speaking, you've been wrong twice. This person has a PhD. He is at the highest level of intellect, theoretically speaking.
Hmm.
He's wrong a second time. What did he do? He writes a third book, the same theory. By this date, this time, we run out of resources because of tuning population. He's wrong again, right? So if he can do that, again, I know my example is anecdotal and I'm basing it off of a video, but if he can do that, why can't these guys do that all the fucking time? Right? You are proven wrong time and time again. The model that you have, the way you do things, the way you live your life is not sustainable, is not realistic. The only person I can say more or less, I say realistically or sustainable, is again Justin Waller. I don't like going back to him being like, I don't want to make it seem like he is the
He has real estate, right?
he based off the documentary, he does have real estate,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
He's gonna make some money.
He's gonna make some money. And again, I do not like going back to Swallow that, oh, he is the pinnacle of red pill. I don't like saying that.
Yeah.
However, in this case, he is, right?
No, he has more
But
redeeming qualities.
yeah, but again, everyone else, HS, Myron Gaines, arguably Sneeko, right? Um, Ed, from what I understand, it's Andrew Tate. From what I see and understand, the way you live your life and the way you run your business is unsustainable. You continually have to go after younger kids. You continually have to go after younger crowds. You continually have to act like you're young. You're gonna get old, guys.
That's the other
You're gonna be
thing.
40. You're gonna be 50. You're gonna be 60. You're gonna hang out with 20-year-olds. Why? Why?
But
I'm 31 now, and when I hang out with a 21-year-old by accident, I'm like, I want to go home.
yeah,
I
but
want to go home.
you know what? They will. There will always be women. I mean, this again. Okay, to go back to another thing. There's so many layers here, but to go back to another thing he missed out on. Let's talk about women. There are women who are supporting, getting on the podcasts, supporting them for their own reasons. Sure, some of it is going to be um, for their own reasons and own financial gain. But
Hmm.
none of this works without women who enabled. No system, no patriarchal system in history, no racist system in history has worked without women also supporting it throughout. Now, is some of that because you could say that's all they know? There's a level of brainwashing. Well, as brainwashed as we are for a lot of things in this country.
For
But
sure.
women support a lot, again, like criticizing the woman who is Justin, like Justin Waller's wife is in that relationship, seems to have it in her head pretty figured out, and is fine with the lane, like the lanes. And that lane ideology is something that is not new. There are women
No,
for years. Justin Waller is just famous. Again, like that's why I said 20 years ago, this is just somebody's uncle who steps
for
out.
sure.
The woman knows it. It's just on embarrassment.
I would add also the fact that there's one criteria, and I saw this with Aber and Preach, was the fact that Justin Wall's wife was like, "Hey, I was in a relationship before, and he was cheating, and he lied to me."
Right.
This one, I know, right? He's upfront about it,
And
and
to some, that's a good option. He provides.
he
He's there for his
provides.
children, at least to what
Yep.
we know. He's
Hmm.
exists in their lives. I can't speak to type of father he is, husband he is, but all I
No.
can go is based on this. And based on this, he what I will say is he owns it more as part of masculinity.
Yeah.
He owns again benevolent. All of this goes into a specific type of I'm mad at Thoreau. Like there are all these things that have been very much documented that were so again a layup. When he was on Myron's podcast, a layup was that look at what Myron did when those women went on, and Myron pulled up statistics that I don't know where he got them from, but Galloway's statistics were very similar when he went regarding these things. So I don't think this was out of nonsense. When they said they want 6 feet, a certain amount of money, and
Hmm.
they put things, he said like 0.6%.
Yep.
That was a great moment for Thoreau to criticize how patriarchy and gender norms harm us as men because they make women expect dumb shit like that. And he
I
didn't do
guess
that.
I think my pushback, for one thing, right? Again, this is just again the thing I'm talking about is from my own experience, so it's anecdotal, right?
Mm-hmm.
From what my own experience was, again in my early 20s, was when I heard all these women, I want a guy who's 6 feet tall, I want a guy who makes X amount of salary, I want this and a third. For the most part, were women who are under 25 years old, right?
Yeah.
And with life, you gain experience. When
Mm-hmm.
you gain experience, you realize, like, wait a minute, there's a lot of options out there. And if I keep forcing myself into this one specific thing that I really, really want, or
Mm-hmm.
my anxiety is telling me I need this one specific ideal
Mm-hmm.
man who does not exist, or this one specific ideal woman who does not exist, okay, whatever your ideal man or woman is, does not exist, right? Your ideal person does not exist. They don't. They are ideal. Ideals are ideas. Ideas are not real unless you make them real. And you can't make a person without another person. Beside the point here. What I'm trying to say is the fact that when I was in my early 20s trying to
Mm-hmm.
date sometimes, I got cut off because I was under 6 feet. I got cut off because I was
Which
a
makes me
teacher.
feel like a fucking smurf, but continue.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I got caught off because I didn't make a certain amount of money. I got caught up because I didn't pitch my ideas to executives, high
I
level
thought you didn't pitch
executives.
in 7 innings, but okay. Okay. I was like, where's this going?
Right. But then as I got older, I'll say at the age of 26, 27, um I'm not saying this, I got on more dates or more women paid attention to me. What I realized was like no, like more were willing to have a conversation with me. I'm not saying that the standard got lowered. I'm not saying that. What I think was they opened
Standard?
their their expectation, or there's not, I don't want to say standard. That's not the word I'm trying to look for, right? But I think they opened their like their vantage was like, you know what? I really think that I am shooting myself in the foot by limiting myself to only this specific ideal person or ideal man or this ideal woman,
Mm-hmm.
right? Be open to it. You said it multiple times. Attraction grows, right? Attraction can definitely grow. And I think one thing, at least for American culture, we expect it to be instant, right? Expect it to be like, I see you, you're hot, you're sexy, this should be great. No, no, no. And Kevin said it in the last, or one of the last few episodes,
Mm-hmm.
was the fact that, like, yeah, I can see someone who's hot and that's it. That's literally it. And that's just strictly surface level.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas someone else might be a little bit less conventionally, attractive for other people's standards. But for
Right.
me, it's like the the bond is there. We have a great time. We laugh. We cry. All things is perfectly fine. So, man, these red
I
pill guys are making me a little heated.
Yeah, but like I said, we should still be attracted to who we date. The thing is, attraction is more complicated, and also your attraction should not. This is part of the problem with tying it to masculinity standards. There's a whole other thing with attraction with men. that is a little different with women, where you need to be masculine enough. We rarely are constantly holding a feminine enough standard for women because we don't, for another reason, because women are objectified and devalued and not seen as capable. So, for sexist reasons, but also it means that then the because everything's related, then masculinity is like on this pedestal, and you saw it right there. There were stats, and I want this stat, I want that stat, and look at how
Mhm.
rare it is to find someone. But where I disagree with you is I don't think the options we have now make people understand that. I think it makes it worse. I think you have more people
Mm.
who are older who think that person is out there because we have access to so many people. You know, I forgot the comedian that said it. It's like you can swipe through 200 people in a day. Your grandparents didn't meet 200 people in their life.
Yes, I know. I know what you're talking about. I know what you're
like
talking about.
like it's just it's a different universe. Okay, so yeah, people think, and you know, my short thing here is if you've never met someone who comes close and you're like in your late 20s, early 30s, the motherfucker don't exist. You need to meet people who come close, meaning that there is a combination of certain things you want that exist within a person to a meaningful degree. Not that they're all there at 100% and not,
Hmm.
but they're all there to a meaningful degree. You have to have met a person where those things exist to a meaningful degree. If that has not happened yet, you want to date, as like I said, a Disney character, but or fantasy. But anyway, to go back to this, he had an opportunity to talk about how patriarchy hurts men too, with the expectations it makes. That it creates a shitty information. Well, like I say, it's the air we breathe. That in our ecosystem that allows for women to literally sort us out based on these things. And what a lot of men will say then is, you know, fuck these bitches. But it's like,
Hmm.
did women come up with that? Or did actually the system came up with that? A lot of people, they'll blame the vehicle of the system, but they won't blame the system. And if you want to be smart, and all these red pill guys think they're smart, you should care about the system. And the system behind it is a patriarchy that enforces gender constraints that make for this stupid shit. Everyone's allowed to be attracted to who they want, but I think if you literally make filters like that, like you said, you're shooting yourself in the foot. I think obviously because I think women of all heights are beautiful. Height should not be one of them, especially height within what is the range of, you know, most humans, because I could go on a whole tangent about this, but even 5'2" isn't that wild to see a woman that's 5'2", right? Why
No.
why must there be, it goes between what we believe must be the visual differentiation between women and men. The less that is needed for attraction, the more men and women who then become in a pool of attractive people. You should be advocating for short kings, and some of them do, by the way, in the red pill group, which is another thing that I criticize. Like, you're gonna go where you're wanted. There are some people that make high value men, and like, you gotta, if you're not like this, you're fucked. But there's some people who will be a lot more advocates for men of different body types, and then say it's women who enforce the standard, and a lot of them do. But it's not out of nowhere. Like I said, women didn't just get together and do spells and say let's fuck over men. It's the same. It's the same page of the book that your father and grandfather read. It fucks us over too, and women read it, and that's how they enforce it. So he didn't get to any of that, and he had a golden opportunity there because it was very easy for him to see where women are misinformed as well, and he let that just slip and say basically that you want to make women look silly, and that sometimes they made themselves look silly.
Yeah.
And again, women agency, they're are they not adults? And also, then he said, well, maybe the most he got into it is that maybe we don't look past certain superficial things. So he let another opportunity slip there that was perfect for getting, because you lose so many men when you don't talk about how women enforce patriarchy. When you don't talk about that, when you make it look like it's all our fault, we do everything wrong, women have no role in this, you lose so many men because, as I've talked about my personal experience, so many men have perhaps even their first experience with patriarchy fucking them over come from a woman, their own mom, a girl they like in class.
Mm-hmm.
You just said it yourself with women who had their standards for 6 feet. So if you don't explain that, so many men are like, that's why I said, if you're a man watching this, and this was a boxing match to go with something a lot of men understand, Red Pill got a lot of hits in. And that wasn't Thoreau's intent. But if it's between Red Pill and Thoreau, Thoreau did not look like he understands a lot of young men, and the Red Pill people, for all their lunacy, did at least look like they're in the 21st century in 2026 and are at least trying to appeal and understand young men. They do it in a fucked up way, but Thoreau didn't make almost any attempt to do that. He just was like, let yourself dig a hole. To some people, they did. But to other young men, they were like, damn, they still are successful and are at least speaking to stuff that I go through. So again, he dropped the ball there.
I think again, I mean, I get my own defense the fact that like Thoreau is walking through multiple layers of things you don't understand. I don't know how old Thoreau is, right? I
I
don't know
think
if
he's in his
he's
50s. Let me look.
I can look it up as well.
Oh, no, no, no. What the fuck, Riverside? Are you still there?
I'm still here.
Okay, I'll let you look it up because second I touch
Uh
something, it wants FBI Jim wants to cut us off.
what how do I spell his name? Thoreau.
Yeah,
Thoreau
Justin. Yeah,
uh,
just like. Mhm.
documentary. His name is Justin. I didn't spell his name right at all.
Mhm.
Manosphere. Yeah, I'm assuming he's in his 50s, right? 50s. At least that's what I think. Oh, Louis Thoreau. That's his name.
What was I calling him? Justin. I mixed him up with Justin Waller. I've been
Yeah,
saying Thoreau the whole time. Louis Thoreau. Yeah.
yeah. Louis Thoreau. He is 55 years old, right?
Okay, and he's British.
And he's
So.
British. So
Mhm.
theoretically speaking, you're other than HS from what I understand is also British, and so is his sidekick Ed, I think is his name,
Yeah.
right? Everyone else is American. So for one thing, you're fighting against, or let's trying to understand. I won't say fighting. You're trying to understand um, today's like younger kids vernacular. You're trying to understand today's social media. You're trying to understand today's men's struggle that you don't feel or went through and understand, right? So I think he's trying to express it and understand the best way he understands it, right? At 55 years old, right? Um,
It's not 55-year-old men getting drawn into this. So that was
I
like,
know, I
you know,
know, right?
he defeated his
So
purpose.
I again, I think he tried his best to make it as broad as possible, so that way as many age groups can understand what it is. I spoke to, I want to say a friend, but a friend of a friend, right? It was myself, two other males, and a female
Mhm.
talking. I don't like saying female, a woman, right?
Yeah.
It's me, two men, and a woman
Yeah.
talking, right? With late night conversation about just life in general, and we're talking about the
Mhm.
manosphere, and she's like, I don't know what that is. To me, I'm like, what do you mean you don't know what that is? It's a whole thing, and we explained to her what it kind of
Right.
is, what it means, and she's like, you guys go through this. This is what you guys are fighting right now,
Exactly.
right? So I think the purpose, like you said before, right? Not just the purpose, but like the impact of this documentary is like, no, this is a real thing, right? You will have to go do more research on your own, right? You're gonna have to go read bell hooks. You're gonna have to go read many
But
books and
but
capitalism, all these
you've
things.
said it yourself.
Oh God,
54%. They ain't doing that. He had
I
the
know.
opportunity through visuals, how
Yes,
most people learn, and it was the totality of what I'm saying he should have done. Maybe would be 15 minutes.
I don't. I personally don't know. I'm thinking maybe more in the aspect of an educator, right? Especially teaching kids at the 6th grade level, it does not take 15 minutes. It takes more than that. It's going to take 45 minutes at least to explain what the fuck is going on of this one specific thing right here. Right? You could have literally a whole entire discussion or a whole entire documentary series about just the OnlyFans portion of what HS was doing. Right? Just that. And that was
Yeah,
about
sure.
5-10 minutes of the whole entire thing. That by itself is a documentary alone. Right?
But I'm talking about as an interviewer. I'm not talking about
Yes. Yeah.
as an interviewer and the narration. It would have been 15 minutes to push back on capitalism, to push back on women, to push back on women's role. There was a lot of opportunities. He could have interviewed the people who were on his podcast, the women. They were right
Could
there.
have. I mean, he just summed it up in the sense of like, hey, they know that it's a game, so they're here to play the game to make money off the game itself. And as you said before, or even what Kevin
Yeah.
said in one of our podcasts, earlier episode, he's like, hey, the only reason why you don't fight against the patriarchal system is because you benefit from it, right? You said essentially the same thing.
Yeah, but again, the women are benefiting from it less than the men. Even though they can benefit from it financially, they're benefiting less than the men and they're coming off looking worse than the men. So again, assist it doesn't mean these people are making again, these women are grown adults. They're making decisions. I don't infantilize them. But
They
it
are
doesn't
legally grown
mean
adults, yes.
yeah, it doesn't mean that there's still not uh, more harm done here, and there was harm to be explored. Like I said, even to men, and again to what you said, there's a lot of women who don't know what we go through, and talking about the insane standards put on us many times by women in the
Hmm.
dating sphere and linking it to the manosphere would have been very powerful because there's a lot of women who don't realize that they are also doing harm. We had someone write for Let's Not Be Trash about how she was a feminist perpetuating some of the patriarchy. And like a lot of
Oh,
women don't want to have that conversation, but I don't give a shit because if you really care about breaking it apart, you have to talk about your role. Just like, a lot of white women perpetuate misogyny and white supremacy. I mean, I've like I said earlier, women have been not the starters, but part of the enablers since day one. We all need to talk about those things if we want to bring it down. Because to a lot of men watching this, these men were successful financially, and women weren't. Did one of them leave the girl, Myron's girlfriend? Sure, but Myron wanted to fuck other women. It didn't matter.
S- I mean, I have
Who the
multiple
fuck
things to say
cares?
about that. I have multiple things to say about that. So I want to bring up a small thing, at least a portion you said about how like some feminists were like still part of the patriarchy. I have a friend who's talking about it. It's like, yeah, like feminists fucked up a little bit. I was like, what do you mean? She's like, yeah, they're fighting for saying that we want to be equal to men, and saying like we got to go fight in the front lines. And she's like, bitches, the fuck are you doing? I don't want to fight in the front lines, right? Just pay me the same, and I'll go back in the kitchen. Leave me the fuck alone.
And some women are allowed to think that's
And
fine,
somebody's like, right? Some
and
women are
that's
allowed to
fine
think that.
too. Everyone's allowed. Allowed. We're all allowed. Okay.
So, I mean, I just thought it was hilarious when she said that. She's like, they're pushing too much. They're going too far, right? We should
We
have
don't
stopped
talk
at
about
equal
that.
pay. She was like, we should have stopped at equal pay. They're talking about we're equal to women or we're equal to men. They're talking we're going to go fight in the war. She's like, you fucking bitch, you can get me drafted in the war. I don't want to fucking fight. So,
Again, benevolent patriarchy protecting you, but we expect you in the kitchen. That's the
yes,
difference. It's not about choice
yes,
anymore. Or if it's about choice, you can choose, but you're not a good woman in my eyes, which is more the Justin Waller thing, who is saying like overall in the macro, men are better at this, women are better at
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah,
I'm
for
not
sure.
stopping individual choices. So that's the benevolent patriarchy. Again, a distinction he did not make because there are more Justin Wallers in our lives. That's
Then
how
we
it
know.
shows up. There aren't many Myrons who are going to come out. What do you say? Women shouldn't fucking vote?
Yeah,
We're not going to hear
yeah.
that. We will hear what Justin Waller said. So again, a golden opportunity. It doesn't take much. Just make the connection. And also, I didn't like again. I'm gonna just go a little bit into this because the man made a fucking documentary. When HS mentioned Israel, because someone in his because there was anti-Semitism involved in this whole thing, which exists and was real. There were actual anti-Semites a part of this movement, not the same as criticizing Israel. When someone said to get Thoreau on his Israel committing genocide, the motherfucker made a documentary. He could have said, "You're talking to the wrong guy." He could have totally done an Uno reverse card and said, "You're talking to the wrong guy. I just came from," because I'm assuming this was either concurrent or after. "I just came from the West Bank, motherfucker." He could have had the best comeback. He wanted to play it safe. And literally went, again, if you want to, in the end, he even did his thing where he got a new high score punching. Well, guess what, man? You want to judge shit like that? They won that round if it's a boxing match, not you. You look bad, motherfucker.
All right.
He had so many chances to talk about he talked about anti-Semitism, and he even had a chance to double down and say how this isn't the same as anti-Semitism. And y'all are anti-Semites for half the shit you say about Jews, Nazi sympathizers. He had so many opportunities. But, he wasn't born in the Bronx or from us. He's not quick with it like we are. Sorry, bro. This is where I will diss you a little bit. And you need some guys like us who are a little quicker on their feet. But anyway, go ahead. I'm pissed we not getting paid, man. I usually don't like to go personal, but
this is episode 12. This is episode 12. We will get there, right? We'll get there. At least let's do a little side tangent here.
Yeah.
Ed, right? The Robin Hood to HS, right? He said something that I really know. Like, they are a little conscious. They are a little aware of what they're doing. So, from what I understand, when Thoreau was out and about because HS left to go do something else, and he was with Ed, and they were walking around making content, right? And at one point, he spoke to a mom and something like whose mom is that? Whatever. Like, try to like, is she single? And one guy was like, "Oh, that's my mom," right? And the quote that I have here was, "Sometimes I drop game and think that was not necessary," right?
Oh, yeah, he said that. That's right.
Reference for talking to mom was like, all right, so at least to me, again, in terms of like hierarchical levels of this, Justin Wheeler, Robin, Ed, right? You have enough conscience, at least good conscience or good intention, to be like, you know what, that was wrong. What I did was wrong. What I said was wrong. Right? There's some sort of little leeway there for me to have a conversation with you to be like, nah, my dude, like you messed up. You're wrong. Right? Do I expect you to be reading bell hooks and to be being completely 180 of a man? No, I don't. Right? To be enlightened? No, I don't. At the very base minimum, it's like, I know that you're, to me, you have some sort of good faith or good intention to have an actual conversation, to actually have a discourse, and not just be like, oh no, I'm right, I know everything. Again, in the case of HS, Myron, Andrew Tate's, right? I know everything, I know all. What's the point of talking to me, right? So that was the other small thing I guess I want.
You're right. There is a consciousness there. And there was a consciousness about the anti-Semitism too, and they said, "Oh, it's just for clicks. It's just for clicks." Again, I don't care who I harm; it's just for clicks. Do some of them really think like a Nazi? I think Nick Fuentes actually is a Nazi, but he wasn't in this one. He should have been, because guess what? He said like women are the source of all our problems.
I don't think Nick Fuentes fits. Not to say he doesn't fit. I don't think. No, I'll take it back. I'm gonna double down. I don't think Nick Fuentes fits this manosphere, right? I think Nick Fuentes is the intellectual manosphere, right? He does his research. He reads books. He understands more or less the left or whatever, right? The Myron Gaines, Andrew Tate, Justin Waller, Ed, HS. They are more of the gym bros. They're not supposed to really think. They're supposed to just, you work out, you have sex with women, that's it. Nick Fuentes is more of a, no, I'll have a intellectual conversation with you. I'm geopolitically well read of what's happening, but my stance is, for like a better word right now, it's wrong. right? And I know it's wrong, but I'm going to keep double downing on it because
Well,
it
I
gets more
see.
views.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know if he's like that. I think even Sneeko was the one, like when they were talking about fuck the Jews or something, and Sneak and Luther was like, "You're just cool with that," and then he's like, "Well, it's content." And then even, but also like again, but at least HS was the most open with it, which is why I would have challenged him, especially on the capitalism thing he brought up. He didn't say capitalism, but he did talk about the concept, which is all these people at the top who are controlling things and don't care. Now,
Yep.
later on, he'll probably link that to Jewish people. And are there Jewish people who are involved in that? Sure. But there's a lot
Sure.
of other people involved. So
There's
he's,
Africans, Australians. It's just
yeah,
whoever has more money. That's it.
I mean, whoever exactly. It's all like Carlin said. It's all a club. You're not in it, and that club also does weird sex shit and abuses children, like we found
Epstein.
out with the Epstein files.
Yes.
Again, an unfortunate thing that Jewish people got to own it too. Weinstein, Epstein, they're definitely complicit. The anti-Semitic aspect of it makes it sound like unfettered total control. Complicit is not being anti-Semitic. They have been complicit. Jewish people have been complicit, as have other backgrounds. Now, he didn't push back then, and then it mattered most because HS was actually talking like he cared. So Thoreau could have said, your whole model here actually can prey on those people who are harmed by it. So you're saying you don't care, but if this angers you, you kind of do care. So he didn't bring it up then. Later, he does challenge HS about homophobia, saying, I wouldn't want my son to be gay. And then HS is like, that's not homophobia, which is. I don't want my daughter to date a black guy. That's not racist.
But I'm not racist.
Anyway, there's that. Just like he said, have I said fuck the Jews? Yeah. Am I anti-Semitic? No. He's Jewish. He just points at a random Jewish guy who happens to be there. Also, to that random Jewish guy, why are you there? He's saying fuck you. Anyway,
he gets paid enough. What I've unfortunately learned is the fact that some people, and I'm not one of them necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
If you give people a certain amount of money, they're willing to let go of their moral and values.
Oh yeah, they'll be embarrassed. They'll play their role.
They'll play their role. They'll do their part. I would say, at least for me personally, if I were to play that role, my price point is $2.5 billion. Now, the reason why I say $2.5 billion, right, is because when I get paid that amount of money up front, Uncle Sam wants half. He's going to want half. I give half. You want to still am? I'm still a billionaire.
Yeah.
That is my.
But also now you're totally richer than the guy, unless that person's Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos or Zuckerberg, Gates.
Yeah, something like that.
You're totally richer than the person anyway now. They could work for you.
For sure.
But so again, he had a chance here to delineate between because Thoreau, he did fucking I can't get past. He actually did documentary. Anyway, to end this, I want to talk about pretty much what this is, which is an alternative. The biggest mistake Thoreau made was this. This was not showing what an alternative can look like through podcasting, through men, through other voices. I would throw in Scott Galloway there. I would throw in Jason. Look, do I expect him to know us? It would have been nice. He doesn't. Yeah. But it would start at least the thought process of people looking for alternatives, which would help us. He could have pointed to Jason Wilson. He could have pointed to Galloway. He could have pointed to, who's the guy? I think there's a guy actually has my name, Evan Katz, Jason something Katz. I forgot his first name, who talks about alternatives to masculinity and write books against violence against women. There's all these men. He could have talked about, what's his name? There's some actors who are pretty good about it too. Mark Ruffalo is one of them, but there's others too.
Yeah.
He could have pointed and said, men, you have alternatives. It's not like this is and you have successful ones. If you want to go for famous people, fine, they got money, they're married or have dated women. You got all these people. Bad Bunny, for God's sake, is even a good alternative.
Oh but he's Puerto Rican. He's not really American, Evan. What are you talking
about? No, but neither of half of these motherfuckers. And they're making money. They're making money here and in the UK, just like he is. The biggest mistake he made, I've always said, if you tell someone where not to go, you did not give them direction. You just told, if you're driving and you
Mm-hmm.
say, don't take the sawmill, and then you walk away from that motherfucker, all that person knows is, I don't take the sawmill.
Somehow
You
you
didn't
don't know
you
where.
didn't tell them where to go, and you gave him no direction. You didn't say take the Deegan. You didn't say take the Cross Bronx Expressway, the Verrazano. You didn't say jack shit. And he had a responsibility here to give men some sort of alternative. For God's sake, I would have even liked if you turned the camera on yourself and said, "I'm building something for men." I don't know if he is doing this, but I'm
I
building
doubt it.
something for men as an alternative. Anything, because all of those men had a group to go to vent and to talk about the harm of men in 2026, which you
Mm-hmm.
did not try to figure out and find and empathize with, and you did not provide alternatives. So you basically made this for the choir, and the choir is not who we're trying to help the most.
Um, I'm not gonna defend Thoreau. I agree with what you're saying. What I'm going to say is rather for us and others like us, or those trying to give another alternative space. I think we have to be not necessarily louder than the red pill. I think we need to brand ourselves better. Or, unfortunately speaking, we need to take a playbook from the red pill because their branding is effective, for lack of better words. It's effective, right? Whether you like it or not, we have to, at least for me, I have to respect for their branding works. The way they market
Oh,
themselves, the way
Trump's
they package
branding works.
themselves, it definitely works. Um, the question is now, it's kind of like, well, if we're going to give this alternative space, we need to also brand ourselves in a way that's like, hey, you may not like what you see, you don't like what's going on in the world. I understand that. And as we keep saying, is like you do have agency. Everyone has some agency. It may not be as much as someone who has $50 million or $1 million, sure, or who has more access to things, but you still have something you could do, right? And in the process of building yourself up, you're gonna mess up, you're going to make mistakes. I have made mistakes, Evan, you've made mistakes, and that's okay. That's you being human. We don't know everything. It's impossible,
Hmm.
right? So I think maybe it's more so the challenge for us with this Pill podcast and the Brolic podcast network. We're gonna
Yeah.
have to figure out how can we brand
Well,
ourselves in a way that's literally a hack or literally a pill to be like, I like it. I want another one. I want another one. I want more of this, and then for them to then digest the whole thing one day. It's just
I'm
it'll be
sorry.
tomorrow.
If you can sit through fucking 2.5 hours of Joe Rogan, he's not that entertaining. I'm sorry. He part of this is platform and money. It's not if Joe Rogan had a fucking what is this, a 5-year-old iPad, and was working on minimum wage and unemployed, he wouldn't do what he's doing and have his platform. I agree with you. It's all money. Okay?
Yeah.
It's all money. Money buys branding. You can brand
Yes.
well as much as you can, but a lot of it is money that breaks through algorithms, especially algorithms that are against the grain, because it is even we have a higher obstacle than red pill. Red pill movements are going with messages that have already worked.
Yeah.
Okay, you know why? We elected a president twice that believes that shit. End of
Hmm.
story. Over 70 million people believe that shit. You want to talk about the ultimate red pill? He's in the fucking office. And you
True.
know what? Again, a missed opportunity for Thoreau. All men see through this is success. We have enabled success. Even people who are against it, including women, have enabled success for this demographic. And he didn't talk about that. If I'm a man down on my luck who feels lost in relationships, who doesn't have much money, who's in my mom's basement, why would I look for alternatives that don't even fucking exist? That no one is trying to put out there and help. You know how hard it is for that motherfucker to find us on Twitch right now? You know the type of deep dive he's going to have to do? So
Yeah.
all of these people are so much easier to find. Show a way to be successful. Make it look easy. Look, we have agency. Again, it's a choice. But I'm saying the human nature of so many of these young men is going to be to pick these guys. And I understand that. I don't agree with it, but I understand it. So we need to be better at platforming alternatives. Obviously, I'm not just talking about myself. I'm also talking about. I sent you a podcast that had 4 men who were actually criticizing the documentary to some extent and criticizing the Red Pill movement. See, I forgot what they're called, but I know they're not as high on Spotify as Rogan is. We have to, as much as I criticize Obama, and I don't even know if he initially quoted this or created this quote, we have to be the change in the world that we want to see. Okay, that part is true. If we are not the change that we seek, if we are not the change, if we don't create it, and yes, to quote Bell Hooks, if we don't accept alternatives, there shall be none. We are not making alternatives. We are not supporting alternatives. Men who are alternatives should be supported. We should, me, Olivier, Brolic Network, whatever, should be amongst a plethora of there should be so many alternatives that are easy for men to find, that show another way of being a man that's successful. Right now, people with their voice and their money, they're showing how they vote. If we're talking about voting, right? The vote's in. The Red Pill won. Uncontested, just about. So if you want, just like another candidate, if you want another candidate in the race, you got to fund them.
Sorry about that, man.
It's all
First and
good.
foremost, to be quite frank and honest, my mother called me, so I had to pick up that phone call.
Oh, Gucci.
Yeah. No, I heard everything you said, even though I walked away. I think, I've learned this new term, not well, new to me, BATNA, right? I forgot the.
Yes.
I mean, just to paraphrase, basically, it's just having a better negotiating deal
Mm-hmm.
when you try to go someplace, right? Um, I think for us, we even throw in Scott Galloway. I think we are literally, in this case, the BATNA to Red Pill, and the BATNA to like the extreme opposite of Red Pill, right? I think more or less we're more or less kind of like, no, we're somewhere in the middle. Not for lack of better words right now, somewhere in the middle. It's like, hey, like again, I can acknowledge Justin Waller being decent as a Red Pill person, at least in that
And
atmosphere.
he, like I said, he has decent qualities, or at least
Decent
a decent,
qualities,
decent. I think his intentions, decent intentions,
intention,
is
yeah,
probably the best way to put it.
exactly, right. I think we can at least acknowledge that. Whereas I've seen some people, or arguably heard some people be like, no, they all suck. Nothing about them is good whatsoever. And I don't like that um, approach either, right? I do think that we
Yeah,
need to definitely
and
take it. That's it. At least for me, I think I need to take it literally almost like case by case, person to person,
right.
and I know we're trying to do a scatter shot of advice here. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but what I think what I'm trying to say is the fact that yeah, we're trying to be more or less just a BATNA for men, women, or just anyone who's
Spell it out
just
for people who don't know. But
BATNA,
yeah,
BATNA.
right. But the acronym is, what is it? Best alternative
Oh,
to
uh, hold on.
something negotiated alternative.
Let me look it up.
And while you
It's
do that,
Joey.
to be fair to other people, also watch James Blake. That's the BBC commentator. Watch his
Oh, fair enough.
documentary, which I preferred to Thoreau's, because it showed more the people who follow the Red Pill movement and what it has
Mm,
done to them, and showed again, if it's a boxing match, They got some hits in because what he demonstrated, to some extent, was very relatable young men who are lost and who are dealing with things that most people would understand: relationship problems, heartbreak, financial problems, and are finding, and maybe don't have certain father figures in their life, and or people to just guide them through this, and they're finding people to guide them. And they don't all hate women. A lot of them are becoming that, but at least at the
Mm-hmm.
start, right? They don't. And I think someone is giving them a community and a group that they so desperately seek, and they can't find other places. You need to build alternative communities, or else why am I going to go to an empty field?
Essentially, essentially. So
Sorry,
let's
but go
speak
ahead
about,
with this.
yeah. So BATNA stands for, at least according to my little search here, BATNA stands for Best Alternative to a Negotiated Agreement, and represents the most favorable course of action a party can make if negotiations fail and no deal is reached. My personal favorite example is like you and I are in a room, and they say like there's $1 million between the two of us, and the agreement is that if we can figure out how to split it, we can keep the money, or we both get nothing, right?
Hmm.
Theoretically speaking, we both say 50-50. But I
Yeah.
say 60, I say 60, you get 40. You would say
Hmm.
no, right, to that deal.
Not if the clock
Um,
was running out. I'd take that shit, but I know a lot of other people will.
yeah, sure. A lot of other people would say no. But theoretically, if I said 60, you said 40, you would say no, right? The thing is, though, you may not know this, but for my case, the BATNA for me is that I made a deal with the same people outside, being like, if I somehow walk away with no deal made with you, I walk away with $400,000, right? So
Right.
theoretically speaking, I will negotiate with you to get more money. You're thinking I'm losing money because you don't have any other options. Whereas for me, is like, well, even if I lose here, I still get $400,000. So
Right.
I'm not really losing. Um, and I think in this case, it's literally again, it's just like in the aspect of just like men or women who just find another alternative is either red pill or the extreme opposite, right? And that's about it. Whereas I think
Yeah.
for us, we are the Batnas. Like no, like both sides have some points. Both sides are a little bit stupid, and let's talk about it, right?
Well,
What
let me just refine that a bit. The other
go
side
for it.
being what exactly?
I mean, again, this is only what I've seen. When I say the extreme other side,
Hmm.
I'm talking about the extreme other side. I'm talking about like the extreme, literally, I guess more like
Like
the blue
actual
pill.
misandry,
Yeah, arguably, right? I haven't seen many of
because
it.
we also have to say proportionally one is way bigger than the other.
Oh, absolutely. No, no,
Yeah.
absolutely. Right. I do think that's no matter what, whatever force you have, one is going to be extreme of the other.
Yeah.
Right. So when you have the extreme red pills, again, like HS,
That's
um,
big,
right,
and
those are
like I
big
said,
extremes.
ties even to the president of the United States.
Yes.
Misandry has maybe one lady in Williamsburg doing spells. Okay.
Sure. Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
What I guess what I'm trying to say is it's
Yeah.
like both options are not the best.
Right.
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 And I feel like we kind of go like, hey, both options are not the best for either people. They both have faults. They both have issues. Let's talk about the fact that we're human beings first
Yeah.
and foremost. We make mistakes first and foremost, and we're trying to just figure it out, right? I do think that we have more or less the space to be like, hey, we made a mistake. It doesn't mean you're necessarily a bad person. There's a difference between making a mistake and making a committed effort to make a mistake,
Yeah.
right?
You can't say
So
YOLO when you know better.
exactly, right? And also when you say YOLO at 40 years old or even 30 years old, it's
And
not
many
cute
do,
anymore.
but they
It's
do.
not it's not cute. It's not cute.
But this is our generation, man. This is the same thing with about like the options with dating. This trends. I agree with you that certain things. I believe there's two periods in I guess you call it your love map. One is as you form your views on what masculinity and I suppose femininity is,
Hmm.
and one when you challenge it. And it's that in between period that I think, at least I'm speaking as a heterosexual man, has been the most difficult for me, right? I'm open with the fact that I have dated with large age gaps, but also both ways, okay? That includes women who are 15 years older than me. But I did women who are 8 years younger than me. And you know what? Some of them didn't care I was that short. And a lot of women my age, they did care. Because some of them were still, and also this is, I hate how old I am. That, I mean, social media was there in 2020, 2019, but it wasn't, I think it's even worse now. And the inundated way we are with messaging. But, you know, I think that we have this all going tying this back. We have to talk about the actual reasons why men are doing, like, so many young men are getting conflicting messages. And one of the red pill, again, a missed opportunity. One of the men in the documentary said that it may have been Waller, again, the more sensical of all of them, the one who I think a lot of us grew up with. So again, if you hate Justin Waller, I want to see you also cancel your uncles. Okay?
Mm.
Okay, because let's be real here. So many people are out there with all this energy, and then they're somehow their boyfriend, their dad, their uncle, this person's is still here. Okay, there's no trophy for the most cancellations. Okay, so for someone like Justin Waller, it was an opportunity to challenge him, but challenge him in a constructive way and say, yeah, we do get hypocritical messages. And I don't. Here's why I don't think all of yours is necessarily the way to go, because
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't. It is sexist for XYZ reasons, but he brought up, and what Thoreau had a chance to do there is say, yes, young men are getting messages that say two things at once and are experiencing two things at once. We're experiencing a time that says we want men to be more sensitive and more empathetic and more this and that. Galloway talks about this too.
Mm-hmm.
But we're seeing at the same time men rewarded who and platformed who are more of the traditional masculinity.
Mm-hmm.
And in our own personal lives, many of us ask any man, and they'll say they've heard many women say one thing and date another.
Yeah.
So
I want.
ask
Yeah.
any man, any
I
man.
want to.
It's
I
this
want
isn't
to. I
even
want a nice. I want a nice guy, but then you date the dude who's selling drugs to a 5-year-old kid, and he stabbed 13 people because they said his shoes look stupid.
which is an extreme. And also, we don't like the word nice, right? I always say, don't be nice, be kind, be genuine, do things that have actions with them. A lot of nice guys ain't shit. But I, I, to your point, the alternatives haven't existed. Like, what is the alternative? We have to give
Mm.
the alternatives acceptance. That's also in bell hooks, right? That's also in the will to change. Alternatives to masculinity need acceptance, and we don't have examples of that. We don't have enough. Let me back up. We don't have enough. I do think we have some. I think Jason Wilson is one, right? But to be kind of fair, we also need more who aren't brolic. I'm sorry. And I think all men should work out. I think men should work out, period. People should work out. Because
Yeah.
any doctor will tell you working out is not a red pill thing. Any doctor will tell you working out is good for you. Work out, period. You don't have to do it to bodybuild. But this is something it's non negotiable for me. Don't debate me on if exercise is good for you. Okay? It is, period. If I'm for empirical shit, I'm all the way through. And that is empirically true. You don't have to do it to be a bodybuilder, but if you don't believe that working out matters in your life, then we probably are just going to disagree on that. So, working out, exercise is important. That being said, we need, like, as a guy who's short, I always say, why wasn't Daniel Radcliffe a superhero? There's a reason. Okay. There's a certain short that we don't accept. Okay. Wolverine
Mm.
in some comics was 5'3".
Yeah,
There's
he
no
was.
reason that Daniel Radcliffe shouldn't have been a superhero after being Harry Potter. Harry Potter was the only one that we could accept him being. There's no reason that Seth Green. I always say Seth Green is a taller version of Seth Green is Andrew Garfield. They almost look at both. There's no reason Seth Green couldn't have been Spider-Man. Like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I don't buy. We have an acceptable short, and it's about the height of Tom Holland. We need to allow for. We need to allow for shorter men to be demonstrated as masculine. And by the way, I think Tom Holland actually is a great version of a shorter alternative. There are people that exist. Mark Ruffalo. I'm just saying there needs to be some guys that are short. There needs to be some guys that aren't in the best shape but are trying. There needs to be some guys that are skinny, that have whatever, a big nose, big ears. We need to show that the whole body positivity thing goes all the way through for our male alternatives as well, not just female. Or else men are going to always call bullshit and they'll always have a point. And they'll always go to the people who make that point, which is the douches that we're saying they shouldn't follow. So we gotta really back up what we say with platforming alternatives. Again, the candidate, if you want other candidates, you can't have other candidates funding no one. You need to platform other people and put your money behind it and put your openness to accept behind it. Or else you're going to get the same fucking candidates all the time.
I got nothing else to add, to be honest. I think you wrapped it up perfectly. I got nothing else to add.
Well, I'll say one other thing that I ended one saying you can't expect to get with and be with women hating women. And I'm going to say that again, and I'm also going to say, and you can't expect men to be better hating boys. All those red pill guys, there's a boy there.
Yeah.
And you can't hate the boys that are drawn to this because a lot of them, their mind is developing and without alternatives, right? And don't get me wrong, it's not like there's no agency here. I say if you can fucking research how to be the best Fortnite player, you can learn about other people and other ways of life. But let's face it, like you said, Olivier, a lot of men aren't going to just pick up a bell hooks book. Okay?
No.
It's just this is the world we live in. So you can't, everything you say can get to a young girl, for all the red pill guys that say they don't hate women, for all the people who say they don't hate men, everything you say is going to get to, when should I tell the boy he's trash? When he's 11, when he's 12, when he's 13? When should I tell him, by the way, you're a piece of shit? So, no, we're not doing that either. If there's men in your life that you care about, you can't hate boys because that's who's learning this as they're becoming men. So we need to find a way to care about the foundation that has led the boys astray. Okay?
That's fair.
Well, because I want equality for everyone. Yeah, and a good life for everyone. Human rights for everyone. Education. All the things that I guess suddenly I'm a communist for saying.
Okay. All right.
Well, it's true. That's what they say. But anyway, thank you for those who will listen and share. And yeah, help us with our platform because that's the alternatives is the way that we offer a different pill, a different medicine, a different way of being.